This is lesson 4. This is on combining like terms. This is something we've already done, so we're combining like terms. Essentially what you are looking at is the idea that whatever looks similar, meaning something that has a variable or something that does not have a variable, you want to make sure to put both of those together first. So what you would have is something like a 5 plus 2x minus 3. Okay, what you do have is two things that are alike. You have the 3 and the 5 are alike. The reason they're alike is simply because they don't have the x involved in it. What you do is you combine both of those together, so that would look like a 5, and this is a negative 3, which equals 2. Then you're left with the plus 2x. So that's the first thing how it would look like. Once you start getting a little more complicated, let's look at it like this, where you have to combine the terms. Let's go just with another 5 plus 3x plus 4x. Now you're looking at two different variables that you're going to have to combine. There's nothing with the 5 that you can combine, but this has an x, this has an x. What you do with both of them is you're going to add both of them together. These two are going to get added. You have 3x plus 4x, which equals 7x. Here you're left with just the positive 5. You have plus 5. There's your answer, 5 plus 7x. Now, as you start building these in terms of complication, now you have something on both sides. So let's go with just 2x plus 4. Let's go with a minus 3x plus 7. Okay, so now we have multiple things that are going to need to get combined. I'll stick with the red. This has an x, this has an x. You have to remember to include your negative. Also, what you have is this does not have an x, this does not have an x. So those two are going to need to go together. Let's deal with the x's first. You have 2x minus 3x. What you have is 2 minus 3, that equals negative x, because it's going to end up being negative 1x, which is just the same thing. Now, let's deal with the 4 and the 7. Here you have 4 plus 7, which equals 11. Now, once you solve the entire thing would look like this, negative x plus 11. So that's all of them combined together. Once again, this is kind of just review. So the next step where we want to take it after this, let's start with the simple one. Except the main difference, we have 5 plus 2x equals, well, let's say 2. Now, what I am going to add over here is a plus 4x. So this is essentially what we're adding to this point. So first thing we got to do is we got to combine the two like terms before we go to solve the rest of the equation. Those two need to come first. 4x plus 2x, here you have 6x, right? You do nothing with the 5 because nothing's combined with it. You're still left with the 5. The 5 got brought down. You keep your equals 2. Now we can solve this equation like we have been solving all the other equations. At this point, make sure you always start with what's furthest away. Minus 2, this is minus 5, minus 5. Keep the 6x equals 2 minus 5 is a negative 3. So these are all just remembered that we're doing the inverse. Same thing, since this is 6 times x, we're doing the opposite, which is division. These cancel out, dividing by 6, x equals negative 3 over 6, which is a fraction, so you will need to reduce it to a negative 1/2. So the big thing that we did here is that we combined the two like terms first before we went to solve the rest of the equation. Let's do another one that's still complicated. So now we're going to have 3 plus 4x minus 1 plus 2x equals 20. Okay, so now we have a more complicated equation here. First thing we always got to start with is you're going to start with combining your terms. Your x's get to go together first, and then whatever does not have a variable, your 3, your -1s, those do not have variables, so you don't do those. So we'll deal with these first since these came in first. 3, here we have 3 minus 1, which equals 2. Next, let's do our variables. We have a 4 plus 4x plus 2x, which equals 6x. Okay, once you put both of those together, your entire equation looks like this. It can be 2 plus 6x equals 20. From here, once we got everything combined, now we're back to solving. Minus 2, 6x equals 18 divided by 6, which is divided by 6. Now you're left with x equals 3. So once you get to this point here, you're still just doing your standard watching your terms.